Welcome back everybody. In this video I will discuss about the splash module. Now in the routes folder in app routes, here I have created a splash route, and in app pages for this particular splash route I will call splash view with splash binding. Fine. And in the modules folder, here I have created a splash folder. In the splash folder I have created these three files: splash binding, splash controller and splash view. In splash binding, while calling this splash controller, here I will pass user repository, and to this user repository I will pass API provider. Now I will move to splash controller. In the splash controller, here also I will use user repository, and in the splash controller constructor, here I need to pass this dot user repository. Now I will create the instance of get storage equals to get storage. Correct. Now I need to create the list of user. Let me name it as lst user, and I will initialize it with empty array. Correct. Now in the onReady method, what I will do is that I will call a get user details function which I need to create. So here I will call, or I will create this get user details function. So let it be void get user details. Now while calling this function, first of all I will check whether the internet connection is available or not. And to check that, in the pubspec.yaml file, here I have used this internet connection checker plugin. Now let me move to splash controller. Here I will declare this method as async, and in if portion I will use await, then internet connection checker dot I will use has connection. Now if it returns true, this means internet connection is available, else internet connection is not available. If the internet connection is not available, then I will display a message to the user. Correct. And to display the message, here I will use custom snack bar dot so error snack bar, and here I need to pass these parameters. So in context I will pass get.context. In title I will pass app string dot network error, and in message here I will pass app string dot connect to internet. All these variables I have created inside the app string folder, and let me put a semicolon here. So if the internet connection is not available, then this else portion will execute, this message will be displayed, and what I want to do is that I want to close the app. To do that, here I am calling a function close app which I need to create. So here I will create the function. Let the return type be void. Function name will be close app, and inside this function I will use future dot delayed, then const duration, and in duration I will pass millisecond of, let it be 3000. Okay, and here I will write some code. What code I will write? I will write system channels dot platform dot invoke method, and here I will pass system, it will be inside single quotes, system navigator dot pop, and then here I will pass a boolean value true. I need to put a semicolon here as well. So if the internet connection is not available, after displaying this message the app will be closed. But suppose if the internet connection is available, then I will check if the user has logged in or not. So for the first time, obviously the user has not signed up not signed in. So the user ID for that particular user will be null. So here what I will do is that I will check if get storage dot read get storage key dot user ID, if it is not equals to null, means if the user has signed in, then what will happen? So if the user ID is not null, this means if the user has logged in. Now for the first time, since the user has not signed in, obviously this will return null, and if it return null, then obviously the else portion will execute. Now the flow of the application will be like this. If the user has not logged in, then I will check whether the user has selected the state or not. If the user has not selected the state, then I will redirect the user to select the state page. Okay. So here in the else portion again, I will check if get storage dot read get storage key dot state ID. Fine. If it is not equals to null, means if the user has selected the state, then what will happen? And if the user has not selected the state, then obviously in the else portion I need to do a checking. So if the user has selected the state, then if portion will execute, and if the user has not selected the state, then I will redirect the user to state view. Fine. But if the user has selected the state, then here I will check if get storage dot read get storage key dot ctid, whether the user has selected the city or not. If it is not equals to null, this means if the user has selected the city, then it's okay. But if the user has not selected the city, then I will redirect the user to the city view. So here I will redirect the user to city view. Fine. But if the user has selected the city, then I will check if get storage dot read get storage key dot area ID, means whether the user has selected the area or not. If it is not equals to null, this means the user has selected the area, then what will happen? But if the user has not selected the area, then I will redirect the user to the area view. I will redirect the user to area view. But if the user has selected the area, then I will redirect the user to home view. Fine. Now I need to create this city ID and area ID in get storage. So let me copy this, move to get storage key. Let me paste it here. Let me copy this. Okay. Now it will be replaced with city ID, and similarly I need to use area ID as well. Correct. Now suppose that the user has logged in. Fine. If the user has logged in, then whenever the splash screen will be launched, then what I will do is that I will use here a try block. Try and catch. Now inside this try block, what I will do is that I will call that user repository, and I will use, or I will call the get user details function. Fine. Now whenever this get user details function will be called, then it is asking for role ID and it is asking for user ID. So in role ID here I will pass, let me copy this and let me paste it here. So here it will be role ID, and let me paste it once again. Here it will be user ID. Fine. Dot, then Now based on this, certain code will execute, which I will discuss later on. And dot on error, here if any error occurs, then this block will execute. Now in on error, what I will do is that before that, whenever this get user details function will be called, this means it is hitting the API. So here I will call full screen dialog loader dot show dialog. This means I will display the dialog, and whenever error occurs, then I need to hide this full screen dialog loader. So I will call cancel dialog here. Fine. And after this, I need to display the error message as well. So let me copy this and let me paste it here. Let me put a semicolon, and instead of this connect with internet, here I will pass something went wrong, and in the title I will pass error. Correct. And in the catch, let it be exception, and here also I need to copy this and paste it here. Correct. And this role ID I need to create here, so let me paste role ID. Fine. So now a question may arise from where I will get this role ID. Now for the first time when the user is logged in, at that time what I will do, whenever the user is logging in, I will save the user ID and the role ID in the get storage, and whenever this splash screen will be called, that role ID and that user ID will be passed. Now based on that, here I will get some result. Fine. Now here what I will do, first of all, whenever I am getting the response, then I need to cancel the dialog. So let me cancel it. After that, here I will check if value dot result, if it is equals to success. Now the API response I have already discussed. If it is success, then in LST user I will call the clear method, and I will call LST user dot add all, and in the add all, here I will pass value dot user data. Fine. Now here I will check if LST of user, since it will be the details for a single user, so I am accessing the details from the 0th position. If LST of 0 dot role ID, if it is equals to 1, this means if the user is a customer, then what will happen? Similarly, if it is a vendor user or if it is a delivery boy user, then what will happen? If the role ID is 2, this means if the user is a vendor. If the role ID is 3, this means if the user is a delivery boy, then what will happen? Now for the time being I am dealing with the customer app, so our concern will be this if portion. Fine. So if the role ID is 1, this means if the user is a customer, then first of all I will check if LST of user of 0 dot what will be the customer status. If the customer status is 1, this means the customer is valid. But if the customer status is not 1, this means the customer is inactive, then I will display a message to the user. What message I will display? Let me copy this. Let me paste it here. And instead of show error snack bar, here I will pass show info snack bar. Okay. And in the title, instead of error, here I will pass information. and in the message I will pass status inactive. So obviously I need to create this inside the app string. Let me paste it, static const, let me put it here, fine, and here I will give a message, your account is inactive. Correct. Now after displaying this message, once the account is inactive, after displaying this message, what I need to do is that I need to close the app. So I will call the close app method, fine. But if the customer status is 1, this means if the customer status is active, then what I will do is that in the get storage I will store, what I will store the storage, sorry, the user ID. So I will call get storage key dot user ID, and in the value here I will use this one, lst user of 0 dot user ID. Correct. Similarly I will store the role ID as well, fine. And similarly I can store the user name, profile image that I will save later on. Correct. Now after saving this, now I need to check whether the user has selected the state or not. This means the same logic which I have written in this else portion, the same thing I need to check there also. So I will simply copy this and I will paste it here, fine. So if the user is launching the app and if the user is logged in, then this portion will execute. Here I am checking if the role ID is 1, means if the user is customer, then what will happen. Then I am checking if the user is customer status is 1 or not, this means if the customer is active or not. If the customer status is active, then I will check whether if the customer status is 1, then what I am doing is that here I am saving the user ID and role ID. Then I am checking whether the user has selected the state or not. If the user has not selected the state, then I will redirect the user to the state view. Similarly, if the user has selected the state, then I will check whether the user has selected the city or not. If the user has not selected the city, then I will redirect the user to the city view. But if the user has selected the city, then I will check whether the user has selected the area or not. If the user has selected the area, then I will redirect the user to the home view, else I will redirect the user to the area view. Okay. And here after saving this user ID and role ID, what I can do is that I can save the profile image, the user mobile, the customer name, all those informations I can store here, which I will do later on. Okay. That's it for the Splash controller. In the next video, I will start with state view, means what will be the table structure for state, city, area, how to create the APIs, that portion I will discuss. But in this video, let me discuss about the Splash view as well. In the Splash view, you can see that here I have used a center widget, and in the center widget as a child I have taken a column widget. And in the column widget, in the children, here you can see I have used image.asset, and in the app image URL, here I have used app image URL.app logo. Now if I move to utils, then you can see here I have created this file app image URL, where I have declared this variable, and here I have specified the image path as images/logo.png. Obviously this images is a folder which you can see here, where I have kept this logo.png. Okay. And from here I am accessing it in the Splash view. Okay, and for this image I have specified the width and height as 100 and 100, and in the text I have specified the app name, and in the style I have used this text theme.title large, and I have set the font size as 40. What I can do is that here I can set the font weight as well. Let me set the font weight as font weight.bold. Okay, that's it for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you so much for watching.